Hey there, huge thank you to all the names on screen, everyone here on YouTube and over at twitch.tv for helping support both channels and help keep them running. Highly appreciate it, guys. If you enjoy the content, you can click that like button, subscribe button, and ring that bell if you want to be notified about when we put out fresh content most days. Enjoy the show, my friends. And welcome back to Let's Suffer Together. I'm Suffer, back with a bit of a conversation about the nature of addiction and a case study on a certain individual that, unless you've been living under a rock, you will know the name of Jordan Peterson. Now, my aim is, by the end of all this excellent paint.net image, that you will fully understand the nature of everything going on here, down to the core, and you'll see where I'm coming from. Sorry, I'm boiling. Let me just turn my fan on and get the hair blowing, because we're going to go on a little adventure. Now, I have my own history of understanding addiction. I generally don't go into the actual details too much, but just for the kind of context of all this, I'm a little bit learned on the whole thing, shall we say, you know? And I've learned quite a lot over the years. It's a subject I'm very passionate about and have, you know, whether it's through myself or others, you know, a keen interest in understanding down to its core. So, in Jordan Peterson's, we're not talking about politics today. Don't even bother down in the comment section. And don't even think about it. Please. It's more the mechanics behind everything and understanding that if you look at this last little slide here, you know, the crying and the kind of facial features and the expression, if you've seen Jordan Peterson's recent content and the more of the memes that have been derived from it, Jordan Peterson cries a lot in his content now. He's very emotional, he's kind of red-eyed, he's a bit all sorts of messed up in a way. So if we go to early, before... Alright, I've dropped my mouse. I need my mouse. I've got a tiny mouse now. It's so small. And it's wireless. I preferred the wired mouse, actually, because it wouldn't go flying. But anyway, Jordan Peterson, everybody. All clean, kind of... smooth. Smooth. Professional, in a way. On a level that doesn't really bring emotion, and it's all about the argument he's making. It's devoid of emotion as much as trying to get the most compelling argument across just on a flat plane, no ups and downs of emotion, no anger, no kind of, you know, this type of thing.
I studied antisocial behavior for like 15 years. I'm actually quite an expert on it. And so we know that
slight up and downs, but you know.
Look at it this way. All right. Women are much more likely to try to commit suicide.
Well, I didn't really want to go there. However, you know what I mean? Just kind of on a level, slight up and downs in emotional charge when talking to an individual. Same here in one of his more well-known interviews on Channel 4.
I mean, look at the conversation we're having right now. You know, like, you're certainly willing to risk offending me in the pursuit of truth. Why should you have the right to do that?
Very calm.
Rather uncomfortable.
Well, I'm very...
Even in a very uncomfortable situation, which he admits himself, just on the level he knows he's got the brain power to kind of facilitate the conversation how he wants to go, and there's no need. He knows in his brain he's not really... It's not a necessity, or his brain doesn't feel like needing to go there, because he's just, you know, a professional at what he does, being a clinical psychologist. He's talked to a lot of people within that training. He knows how to best communicate, and he's able to do that through a professionalism. However, through the nature of his addiction, that's changed, in my opinion. Now, over the course of, say, the last 5-6 years, he got addicted to benzos. Now, benzos, man. Right, where are we at? Up here? Nope, isn't... What? No, that's far too much. I've highlighted way too much. Right. He started taking anti-anxiety medication in 2016. However, when it comes to the addiction side and you can take a lower dose and have therapeutic effects, but over time on something like benzos, opiates, or other things, it's over a long period of time you become an addict and can have disastrous consequences. In the short term, though, like in those interviews we just saw, where he was likely taking anti-anxiety medication, he was able to remain on the level despite possibly still taking it. However, over a period of time, his doctor prescribed benzos, initially for a condition Peterson attributed to autoimmune reaction with food, but continued taking them for the stress associated with the tumultuous reality as a public figure. To cope with the increased stress of his family's health, he escalated his dosage. In May 2019, he quit cold turkey, but suffered acute benzo withdrawal over 3 months, and this is the important bit, why I think he now cries a lot, and it's sustained. It wasn't just for a period of time, it's a sustained emotional reaction in his content in the past few years. Over 3 months at a clinic in the United States, he tried to wean himself off, which is also important for a later discussion had on Reddit, which we'll look at as well. Returning to Toronto, right, it got really heavy, basically, and he couldn't taper himself off. Tapering is a process which you will slowly try and lower the dosage over time. That failed. It can fail for so many different reasons, and it's incredibly hard to do. But mainly because drug addiction and dependency isn't a rational thing. So a addict can bring the irrational to start using more and more again. It's an insidious cycle, and one that, if you look at all data across addiction, why most people fail quitting, just in general. There's a lot more reasons, but that's one of the main ones, that you're bringing irrational arguments into, you trying to help yourself, and when you start doing that, you can justify anything. So he had a sudden, he learned that his daughter and husband, Andrei, who was Russian, became concerned his treatment was hurting him more than helping him, and moved him from the Toronto hospital in January 2020 to a hospital in Moscow. His sudden trip to Russia was arranged over the holiday in a matter of few days by the General Consul of the Russian Federation in Toronto and consular staff, who granted an urgent visa. So, in Moscow, he underwent a procedure either unknown or regarded as too dangerous in North America. What actually happened was, coma. It's a self-induced coma. Or a medically induced coma, I should say. It involves being placed in a medically induced coma, so he would be unconscious for the trauma of withdrawal. Now, we'll go into that a little bit later, but he emerged free of the debilitating medical problem he was suffering and started a rehabilitation at the reanimatology ward in Moscow suburbs. So, not only over a period of a month or two being in a medically induced coma to get through the worst of the withdrawal. Apparently, I didn't know this about it. While I had to relearn to walk and go up and down stairs, button his clothes, lie down in bed on his own, place his hands in a proper position on the computer and keyboard and type. Which I found not odd, because, as we can see here, benzos are a group of central nervous system depressants. Now, say you become addicted to benzos, which is one of the most horrendous withdrawals known to humanity. Again, because it's a central nervous system depressant, when you become addicted to something, you are taking beyond the reasonable dosage, the medical dosage, and becoming recreational instead. So, the central nervous system depression that is going on for medical is going beyond that, and it's taking the nervous system depression to higher and higher levels. So you are depressing your nervous system. So if you do that and then withdraw, say a drug is meant to depress, a nervous system. When you quit, you go from one end of the spectrum, one extreme, right to another. So you will become hypersensitive to everything. And I can imagine with a central nervous system depressant, as it says here, having to relearn how to walk and go upstairs, that it affected his brain in such a way, after going from one extreme to the other, that the nervous system kind of reset, almost. That's probably what the Russian medical treatment, not only going into a coma, but also probably several other substances they use during that process, just reset his nervous system. So he had to relearn. I don't know how he'd actually do that. But interesting to think about nonetheless. However, going into a coma to escape withdrawal, considering it's a central nervous system depressant, and also benzos can cause emotional blunting. So again, think about it. If benzos cause an emotional blunting, you go into one extreme, you know, you're not exactly doing it medicinally, you're doing it recreationally, so all things go to the extreme. So you might have extreme emotional blunting. When you quit, you would get the adverse reaction, you know? Extreme hypersensitivity, not only for your nervous system, but emotionally as well. However, going back to my awesome little picture, so what happened was, you know, happier person, but, you know, ends up getting medicated and things go wrong. Drooling everywhere, you're taking way too much. You need to quit, you know? Drug rewrites changes everyday brain chemical intake. So, the yellow line is what you'd normally do if you want to quit, you know? You'd be all sorts of messed up. You go the yellow line, you suffer massive amounts of withdrawal all at once, concentrated. Now, for something like benzos and alcohol, that can kill you, unfortunately. You know, with alcohol, it's DTs. I'm not as certain of what is with benzos that would kill you, but I think they can. Like opiates, generally wouldn't do that. It's more relapse with opiates that would kill you. But going through the emotional trauma of withdrawal is part of the healing process. And it's actually being conscious for that is important for a full recovery eventually. Because when it comes to the psychological aspects of withdrawal, you need to go through it to experience it so you can, not only your brain can understand, that you can intake information that addresses the trauma, so to speak. If you don't do that and you do what Jordan Peterson do, you know, don't follow this yellow line, but you go to a new one where you go into a coma. But when you come to, you know, the red line, the arrow there goes, oh, we'll just skip that, right? So yes, you happen to, I dropped my mouse again. So you happen to miss out the worst of the withdrawal. However, regardless of any other medical issue during that comatose, or, you know, when you get free of that comatose state, having skipped most of the withdrawal, you won't have reconciled yourself with the, I don't want to say PTSD, but, you know, you won't have reconciled yourself with the emotional trauma. Oh, my man. Hey, I'm a full-on professional, me, but I hope the conversation is at least illuminating. You know, this is what I do, right? You know, it might not be the most professional, but at least we, you know, have some good conversations. So yeah, this is why a little bit crying, a little bit wired, right? Instead of the fully wired, fully crying. You know, because in withdrawal, it's not necessarily that you're crying, it's that your eyes leak, but due to hypersensitivity. If there's a little bit of light, that affects your eyes, you get massive leakage in the eyes. It can happen. But with Jordan Peterson's case, he's definitely crying. And again, I'm not here to judge, I'm not here to, you know, speak on the dude's politics or anything like that. But it's more of an interesting case study. Where Jordan Peterson, you can tell, 2022 edition, just the, compared previously to his, you know, demeanor, he's upright, he's focused, he's on a level where it goes up and down a little bit as necessary for the conversation dictates. But when it comes to this,
So ashamed of her breasts,
just angry,
that she
man.
lets a Machiavellian psychopath cut them off. That there's nothing to them but corruption and power.
You know what I mean?
It's like, how the hell do you
That is an
expect them to
effect
react?
of the
Well,
whole
they-
comatose, miss out,
Well, I
main
shouldn't do
withdrawal.
anything, man, you know. But it's not nothing. And it's certainly not just happiness. Vices went un.
I can understand the whole disheveled look, you get all the, you know,
Yeah. It's like
the cost of fame on top of it.
yeah, that's
But
what it
this is,
at the bottom of the
in my
hill of
opinion,
things.
most likely a chemical and
And I
mental
have
response
my tendency to feel a hell of a lot more sorry
due
for
to
a
skipping
set
the
of
whole
confused,
mental
isolated,
and physical
lonely
processes of
pubescent
quitting
girls
normally.
who have no one to love them enough
to...
Is he going? You can kind of
help them
feel him
appreciate
turn as
who
well.
they
You can kind of
are
feel his brain turn on to the
than I do
sensitivity.
for one overprivileged and unfortunately confused narcissistic Hollywood star.
And he's become a lot more aggressive. He's become a lot more attacking because he's a clinical psychologist. When he first started out, he normally, you know, talked about clinical psychological issues or something that was important in Canada at that time. Which, again, everyone's got the right to an opinion, right or wrong. You know? We're not going to get into that, as I've said. However, if you've actually watched his stuff, he's branched out massively to talk about numerous different things. And the aggression, like, here's the problem. I have noticed the more he strays away from the clinical psychology aspect of it, the more he is just wrong on, you know, so many issues, because it's not his bread and butter. And he brings the emotion, which isn't necessarily bad in debate and argument. It's just that this is probably unwanted from him because it's outside of the realm of his own comfort, you know? If we go back to the whole Channel 4 debate where, you know, he's on a level that he's been used to, that we discussed at the start of the video. He's very used to that, and he's very good at it as well. You know, he can control debates and communication with other people by maintaining that level. But now, he's gone a bit ski-whiff. He's gone a bit all over the place. And I think this is quite good as well. The fact he didn't, from Reddit, solid 3 years ago. The fact he didn't the fact he tried to taper and it didn't work is also a dead giveaway. That there was more going on than pure, simple physical dependence. If you slowly and steadily decrease your dosage and are mentally not dependent, why would you ever fall off the wagon again? It only makes sense if he was psychologically dependent, regardless of the reason. Actually, in this case, he suffers from untreated anxiety, and that's too hard for him to deal with without medication. Benzo withdrawal can also include seizures. It's together with alcohol and heroin one of the worst withdrawals that a person can experience. Overwhelming panic is common, and seizures are possible. So I do feel bad for him. He is a human after all, even though I despise what he advocates for. And I think we can definitely take that view as well, you know? You know, it is not an easy situation with benzos being what they are, and withdrawal being heinous. And my own experiences with that, things I've seen, I wouldn't wish it on anybody. Especially something like benzos, from what I've heard about. Like the whole nervous system aspect of it being truly brutal. With Jordan Peterson skipping that, again, going back to the image, I do believe, again, while this section here, the proper withdrawal, would correct you, would heal you faster if you went through the bigger trauma quicker. Because, you know, you're dealing with all the trauma quicker. You're seeing it. You're not hiding from it. But Jordan Peterson's decided to go this route where it's probably possibly going to affect him the rest of his life now. You know? Or at least a hell of a lot longer than it would the full brutality of it. And I wouldn't say there is a right or wrong way, although, again, having to go to Russia for this treatment, it's not advised under certain proper medical practices. I've always, you know, looked at it and go, hey, if I was in a situation like that, I might do it. But learning about Jordan Peterson's issue and understanding the whole, you're kind of hiding from the actual thing that makes you correct. You know, the thing that your brain is taking time to heal itself, and the pain is a correction, so to speak. It's taking time to address the chemical imbalances. And while it might be able to do that in a coma, the emotional damage isn't being addressed. And it's going to have to be addressed later, which is going to cause all sorts of issues. It's going to cause issues in either of these. So I don't actually know which one would arguably be better. But I think that's the situation. And it's been a great talk. Thank you guys for joining me here today. I think I've said all I need to say on this, and hopefully you leave with a bit more of an understanding about what's actually going on with Jordan Peterson and why he would be more emotional. Again, even if he went through actual withdrawal for a period of time, he would have been very emotional, and he probably would have actually not been a public figure for a certain amount of time while going through withdrawal. Again, he probably wouldn't be fit for public consumption at that point until he felt necessarily that, you know, he had reached a certain point. But still interesting to think about. I don't know everything in this regard, of course, and all I've got is theories and what I've seen, what I can, you know, logically piece together. And I bring this to you, hey, for you to think about, for you to, you know, move on forward with, whether you think about it more or not. Hey, it doesn't matter. But just in case you do, it's there for you. Anyway, I've been Suffer of Let's Suffer Together. If you like what we do, we don't always go on these deep conversations over on the Twitch stream, but the Twitch stream is there for you. Apparently, I, for some reason, have enlarged it massively. There we go. Professional me. Until next time, my friends, there's always the like button, subscribing, ringing that bell, help support the content. We're going to be doing more things like this, branching out into different kind of areas of interest, I suppose. Keep poking and prodding at things I find interesting, talking about them, playing different games, that kind of thing. But yeah, it's been a blast, my friends. You take it easy. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'll catch up with you very, very soon. But much love. Peace. And a big thank you to all the pounders out there, those who click the join button down below, like the people you saw at the start of the video. All the names there are people who've clicked the join button and helped support the content. Pounding hard, appreciate it, my friends. But until next time, you take care, take it easy, enjoy the rest of your day, wherever you are in the world, and I'll see you very soon. Much love, guys. Peace.